Trade evolution. Pokemon's most well-known and annoying method to evolve a Pokemon in the game. Who could forget the feeling of wanting to use a powerful Alakazam or Gengar in your playthrough, but you couldn't because they were locked behind trades. If you didn't have friends or your friends didn't have a Switch or they weren't playing Pokemon games, then you were either forced to use codes for online trades with strangers or save up enough money for you to buy a second Switch, just so you're able to make those trades. At the time of recording this video, there are almost 30 Pokemon that are trade evolutions. Some are straight, you just trade them and they evolve. Kadabra to Alakazam, Haunter to Gengar, Machoke to Machamp. Some need certain items for the evolution to happen. Swirlix to Slurpuff with a Whipped Dream, that's the actual name of the item. Onix to Steelix with a metal coat. Some even need to be traded with specific Pokemon for them to evolve. Carablast and Shelmet to Escavalier and Excelgor. But this trade evolution thing only happened from Gen 1, Kanto, to Gen 6, Kalos. In the other generation games, there are no trade evos. They were replaced with other forms of Pokemon to evolve by using moves, doing certain tasks, or even making the Pokemon walk 1000 steps in the game. Primeape has to use Rage Fist 20 times to evolve into Annihilate. Galarian Farfetch'd has to land a bunch of critical hits for it to evolve into Surfetch'd. Pawmo and Bramblin have to walk 1000 steps to evolve into Pawmot and Brambleghast. As much as the Pokemon Company is working on making fun new games and new ways for Pokemon to evolve, they haven't changed some trade evolutions that don't make sense to stay. First ones that come to mind are Feebas to Milotic and Poliwhirl to Politoed. Why haven't they done that already? They could easily do that. Maybe they haven't done this yet because they don't know which ones to keep as trade evolutions and which ones to change. In this video I'll do exactly that. I will explain which Pokemon can stay as trade only and which ones should be changed for different methods. Different methods meaning some that already exist or that can exist. To make things clear, I divided Pokemon into 3 sections. Those that can stay as trade only, those that could have different methods, and those that should no longer require trading. Let's begin. For a little more information about Pokemon and how they design their Pokemon, they take inspiration from real life things, animals, objects, and even legends or myths. The Pokemon that should stay trade only are Kadabra to Alakazam because they are inspired by magicians and smart people. One of Alakazam's dex entries even mentions its high IQ, and for someone to get certain knowledge or get better at what they do is to travel to different places. Trading a Pokemon to a different game pretty much means traveling, even if it is a trade between different versions of the same game. Generation 9, Scarlet and Violet. Girder to Conkeldurr is another trade evolution that can stay like that. They are based on construction workers. Sometimes they have to go far to work on projects or help with finishing the projects. Honestly, I don't know if Pokemon can come up with a way for this line to evolve without trading. Maybe a level up evolution, but that doesn't feel right for the inspiration used in designing this Pokemon. Onix to Steelix is another trade evolution that can stay a trade only because to evolve Onix to Steelix you have to give it a metal coat and do the trade. Onix is a rock snake that evolves into a metal snake after the trade. Another trade evolution that can stay is Carablast and Shelmet into Escavalier and Excelgor because they are based on beetles and snails. For this Pokemon to actually evolve, you have to trade this specific Pokemon. It won't work with any other, and it works like this. During the trade, Carablast tries to eat the Shelmet, but the trade is too fast. Carablast only gets the armor instead of the tasty food and evolves into Escavalier. Shelmet no longer has armor and becomes a ninja. An evolution line that I can see that could be changed is Machoke to Machamp and Graveler to Golem. Why together? because they have too many similarities between them. Machoke is a lizard man with powerful muscles who becomes a four-armed bird-beaked bodybuilder. Golem is a four-armed ground monster that becomes a lizard-headed monster stuck in a geode. Now you might be asking yourself, they have many things in common before and after trade, and you would be right. I see this possibility as a Karablas and Shelmet situation. During the trade, something happens to Machoke and Graveler. Machoke loses its lizard features and gets four arms and a bird beak. Graveler loses its forearms and becomes more lizard-like. If Pokemon ever wants to do a Karablas and Shelmet situation, we have the perfect option right from Gen 1, the first generation of Pokemon. I'm going to be honest, this section has the most Pokemon in the whole video because most of these trade evolutions don't even feel like trades when you look at them up. Pumpkaboo to Gourgeist and Phantom to Trevenant feel more like simple level up evolutions because Pumpkaboo just becomes a bigger pumpkin and Phantom just becomes a bigger tree. Swordlegs to Slurpuff and Spritzee to Aromatisse make more sense to be item evolutions rather than trade evolutions because Swordlegs is a cotton candy dog which once it comes into contact with the whipped dream item becomes a candy dog. Spritzee is a bird that looks like it has a plague doctor mask and becomes a bigger bird person when it gets the sachet item. Think like when you give Eevee a Fire Stone, Water Stone, Ice Stone or any other stone item that you can use for the different evolutions. Not all of Eevee's evolutions evolve with the help of items. Boldor to Gigalith is an evolution line that will make you scratch your head asking yourself why is it a trade evolution and not a level up one. To be honest, I'm in the same boat. I tried to figure out the reason for this line to be trade only, but I found nothing. This entire line is a rock with the gems that only get more obvious the closer it is to the final stage. It is one of the Pokemon that definitely need a different method to evolve. Clamper is a Pokemon that can evolve into two different Pokemon, Huntail and Gorbis. Clamper evolves into Huntail after you give it a Deep Sea Tooth and trade it. Clamper will evolve into Gorbis the same way, but you give it a Deep Sea Scale for Gorbis, of course. This evolution line makes more sense if it were just like you give Clamper one of the items and it just evolves right away. Dusclops evolves into Dusknoir after you trade it with the item Ripperclaw. This evolution changes a lot from a ghost stuck in mommy wraps into the ghost of a spirit that brings the souls of others to the underworld. This line makes more sense to evolve by giving it the Ripperclaw and evolving it at night time. You know, the time where spirits and other supernatural beings come up to play. Porygon evolves into Porygon 2 after trading it with the upgrade item, and Porygon 2 evolves into Porygon Z by trading it with a dubious disc. This Pokemon doesn't really make sense to be traded because they are based on computer programs from getting an older version to a newer one, and even in the case of a version being full of bugs. The trade method pretty much means trading someone a better version or a version full of bugs. It makes more sense to just give it the items and evolves without the trades. Electabuzz evolves into Electivire after trading it with the Electorizer item. This line is inspired by Lightning Beast of Legend. Why does it need to be traded for it to happen? You could just give your Electabuzz the item and make it use an electric move a bunch of times until it evolves into Electivire. Magmar evolves into Magmortar after trading it with the Magmarizer item. Just like the Electabuzz line, this line is inspired by Fire Beast from Legends. It makes more sense for you to give your Magmar the item, make it use a fire move a bunch of times and then it evolves into Magmortar. Scyther evolves into Scizor after trading it with the Metal Coat item. Why is a bug evolving into a Cyborg bug? Is the trading process causing Scyther to fuse with a Metal Coat? It could be like Scyther evolves into Scizor after it defeats a certain number of enemies only using steel moves. Its biology changes to be more metallic and powerful. Seadra evolves into Kingdra after trading it with the Draconic Scale item. This line is based on seahorses, and there are legends about sea creatures becoming dragons after achieving a goal. It makes more sense for this evolution to happen after Seadra has the Dragon Scale and uses a dragon move and wins a battle without dying. If it does, it evolves into a powerful dragon seahorse. If it loses, it stays as a regular seahorse. Rhydon evolves into Rhyperior after trading it with a Protector item. This line is inspired by the same things as Girder and Kunkeld, but this line doesn't make sense to evolve with trades because it doesn't evolve by learning or helping with a project, it evolves because it gets a safety vest. The vest that everyone wears to be safe. It makes more sense to just evolve once you give it the item and you level it up once. Slowpoke evolves into Slowking after trading it with the King's Rock item. This evolution doesn't make sense because Slowpoke evolves into a wise and smart king with the help of a Shelder, biting its head. Where does the Shelder come during the trade process? Is it a game bug? It makes more sense to give Slowpoke the item and get it to a specific level, maybe 5 or 10 levels above Slowbro's evolution level. Alolan Graveler evolves into Alolan Golem after the trade. This line is the original variant of the original one, but it shouldn't have to use the same evolution method as the original. Their type is different from the original, they could just evolve by leveling up or giving Alolan Graveler a Thunderstone. Haunter evolves into Gengar after the trade. This evolution line is one of the most popular amongst the fans, but it doesn't make sense for it to be a trade evolution. I tried to find a Karrablast and Shelmet situation for Gengar, but it doesn't work. Alakazam is a powerful psychic Pokemon, Machamp is a physical 4-armed fighter, Golem is a lizard stuck in a rock, Gengar doesn't have any good connections to explain the reason for this line's evolution method. There is a theory that makes more sense for Gengar to have a similar method. The theory basically makes Gengar the evil version of Clefable, a fairy that evolves using a Moonstone. Gengar could just evolve at night using a Duskstone. Poliwhirl evolves into Politoed after trading it with the King's Rock item. This line makes no sense in terms of trade evolution, both in design and with the item used. After trading a Poliwhirl with the King's Rock item, it evolves into Politoed. Let me say the item again. King's Rock. In what shape or form does this crown-looking rock make a frog Pokemon evolve into a tree frog? You heard that right, Politoed is based on a tree frog and its shiny looks like a poison dart frog with its bright colors. Just look at Politoed's face. It looks like it evolves with friendship, not being traded with an item. Which makes no sense. If you evolve your Poliwhirl into Politoed using a trade, you pretty much tell this friendly frog that you don't care about it. I think a more logical evolution method for Politoed is maxing out its friendship and leveling up during the day. This method actually works for players who want a friendship frog on their team and do not have to worry about complicated trades. Feebas evolves into Milotic after trading it with the Prism Scale item. Now we have got to the evolution line that inspired me to make this video. To evolve this Pokemon to trades doesn't make sense to me. Feebas is an ugly fish who is trying to evolve into Milotic, a gorgeous sea snake. The item makes sense, you have to use a Prism Scale, a Rainbow Scale with some kind of magic that allows Feebas to evolve. Honestly, I don't think this line would work better if it evolved by giving it a Prism Scale and maxing out its friendship. I like this method because I always thought it would work like this. I even remember one of the Pokemon episodes while Ash was still part of it. The whole main point of that episode is a girl who loves her Feebas so much that it evolves into Milotic during one of Team Rocket's evil plans. I also know about the first method. This line was only able to evolve. You had to max out its beauty condition by making Puffins and Pokeblocks. That method makes more sense than trading it, but it is more complicated than the method I found because you have to use specific berries to make the needed items, and if you mess something up, you'd better start looking for another Feebas to evolve. I finally finished the list. Don't get me wrong, I like doing it and I will do something like this again if there are more evolving methods that don't make sense, but I will also work on videos that don't have any ties to Pokemon or any Pokemon-like situation. I tried to make the descriptions as short as I could, but I just had a lot of important things to say. After I decided to make this video, I found that Milotic and Politoed make no sense to be trade only. I also found Pokemon that should either be level up evolutions, stone or item evolutions, or any other method to evolve with them other than trades. Thanks for watching, it means a lot and I hope you find my past videos interesting enough to subscribe, and if you still want to see my next videos for you decide that, I don't mind, take your time. I'm SuperWolfX and I hope you have a great day. I don't count Alolan Grappler and Alolan Golem on the Generations Trade Evolution line because it is just the Pokemon Company not giving it a new evolution method and just kept the old one. They changed that with the Gen 8.